Here's my 1975 Model 200 Allis Chalmers. I tried starting it this morning. It was 2 degrees above Fahrenheit and turned over and smoked, but no fire, and I didn't try too hard because I thought I didn't want to really do a cold start anyhow. This cold, a little too cold for this tractor. So I plugged it in. So while it's plugged in, I'm going to go over some of the maintenance items. Here's where you change your oil. These are inverted oil filters. You fill them up with oil before you put them on. I got the tall filters. There's a shorter filter if you'd like to put on the shorter one. There's your dipstick right there. I believe the oil change, I change it 75 to 100 hours. That's a good place to be on these older tractors. There's your oil cap. If there's moisture here, like a gray, milky looking substance on there, you might have a problem of antifreeze leak. So you want to check for that. Same thing with your dipstick when you pull that. Holds 15 quarts with the filter change, give or take, because these are taller filters, maybe slightly more. Greasing. There's a grease zerk on these tie rods, but originally they didn't have it, so some of them might have it and some of them don't. There's a grease zerk in that dark area that you grease for the pivot pin on the axle. And there's a grease zerk on each front spindle right there. Here's your hubs. You should take them off yearly and grease your bearings. And that's a screw off cap there. I haven't had this tractor very long. I haven't put much time on it, 25, 30 hours. There's the other grease zerk, another tie rod. There's also grease zerks. There's a grease zerk right there for the pivot on the power steering. There's a grease zerk, can't see it, but on the end of the power steering shaft. And there's another grease zerk on this end of the power steering cylinder. It's kind of all greased. Well, it's been greased up, you can tell. The weak area on these might be that they be broken in the axle right there. Usually, most of them have been beefed up. This one's never been broke. There's your fuel filter, just one of those square type fuel filters. Your water separator is a square glass one that's up there under the hood. And there's your primer pump for priming it when you change filters or whatever problems you might have. Hydraulic filters under there. Like I say, this was supposed to have had new oil put in it after I had it worked on. I don't know if they actually did, because that looks like an old filter to me, unless I got an oil leak, which is possible, which it looks like probably. That was a year ago I had it fixed. Oil, hydraulic oil, I don't know, I'd have to look in the book how often you change that, 500 hours or something. Your wet tire valves, you should change them out every couple of years. Your greasing on your front end, the grease points I showed you, you grease them daily. If you don't grease them daily, they're going to wear out. And it's just pure laziness if you don't grease them daily. Change those valves out every 2 years, you won't have a problem. Back here, same thing daily. If you're using the 3-point hitch, and when you're not using it, grease it occasionally anyway, because they will sit there and vibrate along, and they do wear out just even if you never used it. Grease zerk there, one for the threads. There's a grease zerk for the torsion bar right down there. You can kind of see it. The other side will be the same. There's where you adjust your 3-point top link. So on the other side, you've got the same grease zerks. Grease zerk there, one for the threads on your adjustment. I've added these little handles there, that rod. I added that. I don't have the factory ones, and that's not right, but it works for me for now until I get the right ones. Your grease zerk here, kind of see it right there. It's all covered up. I have not cleaned this tractor up at all. since I got it. I vacuumed the cab out as about all. There's where your fuel goes. Other than that, I can't think of a whole lot else. You drain your oil, hydraulic oil, right there, and there's one there. That's where your clutch pack for your hydraulic independent PTO, kind of independent. It is and it isn't. Your bowl gears are drained right there. They're separate compartment. You add oil. There's the drain, and there's a drain for that bowl gear. And I don't see where you add the oil on it. You got to pump it in on these. I don't think they run them together. I know on the 190 they don't run them together. It's a separate deal. There's when you're under the tractor, there's a drain for your transmission right there. And I feel like I'm forgetting. You have to look. The best thing you can do is buy a book and look for all your drain plugs by the book. But I think there's another drain plug I've missed for the rear end oil. So, and where you add for the bowl gear, I don't know why I don't see it. Must be on the back side. It's got much wider bowl gear than a early 190 or even the late 190. And the 7000, I believe, is even a little wider. The straight 7000. Basically the same rear end on them. Well, I'd have to look in the book to see where you add for the bowl gear. The bowl gear takes, well, I just put Hytran in it, or Universal Hydraulic, 821 AGCO Power Fluid, Hytran from Case IH or High Guard from John Deere, works good. If you add oil for your hydraulics and your power director, it's got a wet clutch. Whatever you put in there, make sure it's compatible with a wet clutch, and make sure if you put any additives in that it's compatible for a wet clutch, because you don't want to ruin your clutch pack for your transmission or your PTO. Now here, right here, there's a snap on each side of this grill, and that gets to your, it's hard to do this with one hand, so you can clean your hydraulic oil cooler, your radiators behind that, your air filters right there, and this door just flips open to make it easier to get that air filter out. They put a little bigger one than the earlier 190s that this replaced. I don't know about the latest 190. Pre-cleaner. Somebody shortened this pipe for some reason. It's supposed to be a little taller than that. That's got a screw top. Everybody knows how that comes off and you clean there. And basically that's all the major maintenance I can think of. You add your oil up here under that cover. I just snapped that cover on. There's screws to hold the cover on, but I just push it over and it holds on right like that. But there are some screws you can put in. This is your hydraulic and power director oil. This is your transmission rear end oil. That's about it for maintenance that I can think of. Buy a book. That'll tell you everything you need to know. That's all.